Okay, I am back. Though it doesn't seem like there's anyone there to hear me. Okay. So, last time we went over time, our temporal divisions, and now should probably make up words. Let's see. Okay. Now that that's out of the way. Words. We already have a word for day. Ga. Forgetting our ga. Ga. So there's our word for day. And then, oh my god, your notification actually came through, Cactus. That is a miracle. Now, one thing that we should probably consider is that the word for day and night would probably be split up. Like so. And we could do this. Hello, Shoe. We could do the same for week, but we'll get to that in a second. But the word for day, we should probably have day as in sunlight day be ga and have a different. Last time we went over temporal division, or how we split time up in our language. So if you go to the link to this file in the comment description below, you can come here and look at yourself. But basically, we split up the day into 4 sections, the week into 8-day weeks, because the moon phases change once per day and there are 8 phases in Minecraft. Then we did the bigger units of time based on the smaller units. So a month is 4 weeks, a year 8 months, biennium. Hello, Olethros. A biennium is 2 years. Remember that these are based on the previous units. We also did our micro units. So we have a tick in Minecraft is one, the redstone tick, mind you, is 1 out of 12,000th of a day. 1/12,000th of a day. And that is our equivalent of the second. The minute is 20 ticks, and that's 1/600th of a day. An hour is 1/30th of a day, and that's 20 minutes. And then the by hour is 1/15th of a day, and that is 2 hours. So time is split up slightly differently from how it is in our world, but that makes sense because we're basing it on Minecraft. And now our goal is to give names for these. And the reason why I'm setting aside a chunk of time for that is because usually they have some relation to other things in the world. So, like, a second in English is called a second because it's the second division of an hour after the minute. If that makes sense. And like the days of the week are based off the ancestral bodies. Astral bodies. So Monday is the moon, Tuesday is Mars. It's a lot more clear if you speak a Romance language. And so the names of these things come from other objects in the world, and so we are going to use that when naming these. So, day is a yeah. Though interestingly, most of the old world had a 7-day week, and the names of the days of the week were often named after the astral bodies, because that idea of splitting the week into 7 days comes from Sumeria, and then naming them after astral bodies comes from the Greek practice of naming each hour of a day after a different god. And gods back then were related to the astral bodies. And then that idea spread out to India and China above, which is why you have the Japanese and Korean names of the week being so similar in that they're... That's not Japanese. Where's... So that Getsuyobi being Moon Day or Monday and whatnot. So, I got distracted again. That's actually entirely my fault. I will not blame you this time, Shu. So, now thinking of words, the probable easiest way to think of this is number systems. So the first day could be day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, like it is in Hebrew or Chinese. Then, or we could do that and then interspace it with different words for certain special days. Or we could have a new word for each day based on the phases of the moon. So, yeah, before we continue with day, I'm going to let us do the week. So we need a word for moon. Word for moon. Lur. Yeah, probably not names based off gods. I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking more on the phases of the moon itself. So, Lur. Moon. Let's make Lur moon. Well, you don't really need a special reason for something to have a name. So we can just make up a word for it. Like Lur. And then if for some reason we decide to like make a fake culture for villagers, we could give them, I don't know, a moon god named after the moon. Because usually gods are named after natural phenomena and other things rather than the other way around. It's like kind of rare for, at least from what I've seen, for something like the days of the week to happen where a thing is named directly after the gods. Lur? Because it can. One sec. Okay. Now, yeah, so I'm just choosing lure because I can. Like, that seems... And then we can base things. So lure could also be day of the week. Yeah. Lure could also be the suffix for a day of a week. So like how in English we have each day of the week ending in day, or in Chinese each day of the week begins with xingqi, so on and so forth. We could do the same with lur. Lur. Though I guess here it would be dependent on the pitch accent of the first thing. And then we could name well, would there be a need to have such layered etymology? Because they're just natural phenomenon that exist no matter what. It makes sense for them to have their own words that aren't based on something else. The only reason I can see for why they would have such etymologically clear roots or compounding or whatever is because the original word had become so disused, whether it be due to homophonic mergers and whatnot, that they had to create a new word for it. So we can, yeah, so we'll just have lur for the day for moon, and day of the week, and then ga. We could also have it, since ga, the word for sun, is also the word for day, could also be the word for night. So we're kind of heavy loading the word, but since lur is only used as a suffix to mean day of the week, we could double up the word for moon to night. Now, of course, we could probably make more specific. It's not an actual thing. It's just what I call it when a word has a lot of definitions to it. Or a lot of varied definitions that might be related or might not. So let's take the word. So basically, if you open up a dictionary and you look up a word, there we go, and it has all this, I usually define that slightly as a load. It's not an actual scientific thing at all. It's just what I call it. Now, we could probably create more specific words for these later, so like ga thing for time, so daytime, nighttime, or sun time, nighttime. Actually, let's do that. Let's create a word for time period. Moment. Oh, I forgot to make the awkward. You know what? I'll make it right now. I didn't stop you from saying anything forever. I just put you on mute for 300 seconds. So okay, we want to put the vowels here. One sec, this might take a moment. Toki Pona isn't bad, it's just that this guy's a troll. Though I will say Esperanto is the superior Conlang. I should find some royalty-free music for you guys so you're not just listening to me breathe in my silent moments. Oof. Nope, that's space there. Almost done, and then just need to do the syllable structure. Let's mark this as T. High, low. And then the... Yeah, that actually seems good enough. Oh. Okay, let me go to... I should probably get myself a moderator now, seeing as that's happening. Okay, do this. And then that. Oh wait, no, I don't want T to be optional. I want tone to be mandatory. There we go. And now we have ourselves a mess. But we'd have a much easier time to create words in this. So I will be using this to create words from now on. So if you have ideas for words, feel free to leave them in the chat or comments. Or the Discord. So we need a word for time. This isn't a dictionary. This is just a word generator. So a word for Ka, ka. They're all the same person. Okay. Never thought the day would come when I'd be dealing with these guys, but what do you mean by English doesn't have a nasal indicator? We don't have nasalization in our language. Well, I shouldn't say all English. In most of the standards most of the varieties I've seen, there haven't been nasals aside from nasal consonants. So, actually, that should go over here. Then I need to create the actual spelling for it. Oh God, that is the pharyngalization. No, that's creaky. Actually, make that small change. H, or the H sound, is now spelled with a J. Friend of mine recommended that just to screw with people, and so I will do that. Well, why would you be writing that in English then? Just use a diacritic. Like, standard English doesn't make use of these diacritics. But most people would understand the tilde. So if you really want to show nasalization in English, you can just borrow the diacritic and use it for nasalization. I mean, wouldn't be the first time, and it's no rules. Yes, Espanol intensifies. I don't speak any Espanol. So underneath there. Oh, we have our modifiers coming before the verb nouns. Yes. So quand. What do I mean by borrow the tilde? Or what do I mean by there are no rules? Oof, that is... Let's go Vietnamese and leave spaces there. So there is technically no... So France has the Académie de Française. Spanish also has the Royal Academy, and they are people who dictate how language can be used in formal or governmental processes. They also like to believe that they can dictate how language is used whenever, but you can't do that. Only in formal instances and for writing. And so English has none of that. We have guidelines and general practices, especially in academia, but we have no official rules set. So that means that if you wanted to, you could start, I don't know, changing up how you spell things. So instead of saying cheese, you spell cheese. People will tell you that it's wrong, but the only reason why this one is right is because people just decided it is. There's no actual rule mandating it that it has to be spelled that way. And so we can do the same thing with diacritics. Technically, in academic writings and whatnot, you're supposed to have diacritics for when they're needed. So like fiancé, you're supposed to spell it with a diacritic according to the certain guidelines and general practices of academia and formal writing. But most people live off the diacritic. Same thing with cafe, and so on and so forth. But most people leave them out because they're not actually how you're supposed... They're not... I don't know how to say this. But do you get what I'm saying? Anyway. Okay, so we have... Oh wait, because... Ganga. Oh yeah, okay. Let me double that space. So since the first one is nasalized, the last one will have to be nasalized. You just don't see it on the spelling. So there's our words for day and night. And now what word should we have for day? We could have it be its own independent root for the day-night cycle. Or we could etymologically derive it from something else. We could derive it from the word for dun or sunrise, or we could derive it from the word for day itself again. Oh god, did I say entomology? Etymology. Etymology. Study of words, not bugs. Okay, anyway, what is a good... Usually when I'm getting stuck on these sort of things, I like to look at the words in other languages. It's a period of 24 hours. Yeah, okay, so these two things would have the same... Certainly these things would have the same thing, so... You were saying entomology this entire time? So apparently you're a bug lover. Actually, I'm pretty sure there's a... Yeah, here we go. It's an XKCD for that. There's an XKCD for everything. Anyway, so this comes from Proto-Semitic, so just the root word for day. Actually, I feel like that's going to be for most of these, so it'd probably be a good idea. Most of these are also derived from the word for sun, or just using the word for sun. Nocturnal, day. Wait, is it just putting the word vespertine? So it's just putting the two words together. For full day is day-night. Which I think is a good idea. The day is Lirga. Oh shoot, since that's creaky voice, that should be an apostrophe. Almost messed that up. Though I like it better with an H. I'm gonna change that from creaky to pharyngealized. I think that looks a bit better. There we go. So, ooh, we have 6 viewers this time. That is great. Whoops. Okay, so let's see. If you do nothing but spam Yosu or Yan Conglomerate, I will keep silencing you guys. Or you. Okay, so now the word for week. We could have an independent word for it. Or just literally 8 days. Or I feel like maybe they base things more on the moon than time-wise. Danlir. Or 8 nights. And that can be the word for day. And then we could split this up again into... Well, it's an 8-day week in our world because that's how long it takes from new moon to new moon. Don't apologize. You're gonna make yourself look Canadian. Or Vermont. Anyway. we can split this up into something like growing moon and shrinking moon. So actually, do things shrink in Minecraft? I don't think they'd have a word. Well, the reason I'm using moon here is because the 8 days of the week is decided due to the waxing and waning of the moon. And so that takes 8 days, and so to base the week off of the moon makes sense. I mean, that's usually how it works in most cultures, is that the week is based off the moon. You have any other idea, feel free to throw out another. Feel free to throw it out. I might not use it, but I might be inspired by it. But yeah, would they have a word for shrinking? They'd have a word for depleting, which we could just use. Shrink, deplete. To shrink. If you have any idea, just blurt it out. Even if mine seems reasonable, yours might be better, and even if I don't like it as much, again, it might inspire me to do something. So I don't think anything shrinks, but you could have depletion. I mean, a stockpile depleting, which there we go. I know how to spell, so that obviously comes from Latin. That's not what I was looking for, though. I was looking to see if there's a native English root for this. I know, getting distracted. So, that. Okay. Aufbrauchen. To use up. That makes sense. Okay. One last thing. So does that make sense to shrink, deplete? Gonna need a word for it again. One with nyangar. I like this one. This one is good. Okay. Nyangar. But if we're doing... Oh well. And then also one for grow. One. Let's do it like this. What's my was just wa? Okay. No, that's so. Let me explain that in a second. After I finish typing this out. And then let's make them consistent with each other. As that is a nice little thing. So we don't know the ultimate origin of roots, because that would involve us going all the way back to the origin of language. But new roots are created all the time in language through loss of previous meanings. So let's take the word, merge these, increase this. Let's take the word compute. In English, this is a root. It's a root that just means to compute something. It's used in computerization, and whatnot, so on and so forth. But if we actually know what no, keep it with compute. But it technically is made up of two roots that aren't really roots in English. But they were different roots in Latin. Computor comes from con and putor, or I reckon. So in Latin, these were two different roots, but then in English, it came to be one root representing one thing, if that makes sense. And you can see this all the time with certain compound words or certain root compounds being condensed into their own new root. Though sometimes people do actually sit down and think about making new roots. Like a perfect example is actually Hebrew, with being reconstructed and all. They had to borrow a lot of new words and roots for modern terms they did not have. A lot of it from Arabic or other Semitic languages in the region, because they also had roots, the same type of root system as Hebrew. But we can get into that in a later day. So we could kind of created a little suffix here, but we could, for this, create wait, no, I want the growing wangar. Probably just better to copy paste. And then since our word for moon is lir, now we could have this as an adjectival phrase. So it'd be just modeling after the English thing. So, though, something that happens with a lot of proper nouns or words that are used very frequently is, oops, that's growing again. Is that they get condensed down into new words. So right now our etymologies for these words are very transparent, like highly transparent. And while that is seen in a lot of the world's languages, but for such common words, they often get shrunk down even further due to getting used so often. So we could, and this is just a hypothetical, I'm not going to do this now, just see how you guys think about it. We could shrink these down even further. Doing actually what I just said, creating new roots. There's an actual term for it, but I cannot think of what it is now. But if you see what I'm doing on screen, I am basically emulating frequent sound change. So if you guys do not know, in historical linguistics, sound change is regular. I'm assuming most of you guys already know this. So if an S becomes H, there it is. If an S becomes H before an instance of A, it becomes H before every instance of A. And so that is a consistent long-form sound changes that affects the entire language. But, this is key, very common words are more likely to undergo sound change than uncommon words. So the more common or more frequently used a word is, the more likely it is going to be condensed. So that's what happens with words like make. The past tense used to be maked, but because it was so common, it underwent metathesis. The D overrode the K sound, making made. It's also what happens with contractions all the time. So I am is such a common phrase that it becomes I'm. You can also observe it nowadays in I don't know, which usually spelled out like this, but is often pronounced as I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, very common, very frequent words or phrases get condensed. So, because Leah became make the vowels, but the problem is we can't have rhoticity interfering with the pharyngeality. Though we could probably get rid of the laryngeal and just leave it as that. Actually, you say slang is evolution of language, and it is. But that's only if the slang actually sticks. If it doesn't stick, it doesn't become an evolution of language. It just becomes, well, another slang term that eventually fades out. Well, it was a good idea. We probably have emphasis on the first syllable, so it'd make more sense for the rhoticism to stick instead of the pharyngealism. So actually, I think I will go with. So I think we'll keep day as that, but for day and night itself, or solar day and lunar night, we go with that. Which creates an interesting dichotomy between Gaia, Gaia, and Gaia. Gaia. This one had Gaia. I can't even pronounce my own language. Good job, me. Now this one we could make into a nasalized rhotic. Grr, grr, grr. And then for this one, probably easiest to just delete those, though the product might stay on the top one. Yes, just a lot more stops than you'd expect from a villager. Okay, so we have that. And now we have these things to name. Oof, naming a month now would be a bit harder since we tied the week to the moon instead of the month to the moon. So probably use a different name, or easiest solution for weeks, that would be and then that could become a glottal stop. And then that gives us yeah. But we've already made this little system here, which I like quite a bit, so I think I'll stick with it. And then do. R, R. Can I explain this system? Okay, so yeah. We have... So I'll go into the micro units in a second. But we have the day, which is from one sunrise to the next sunrise, with sunrise starting the day. And then it's split up into two sections, day or solar day, and at night. And each of those is also split up into 4 sections. So dawn, morning, noon, afternoon, dusk, early night, midnight, late night. And then we have our week, which is the number... A week is determined from one new moon to the next new moon. So that is a total of 8 days in Minecraft. And that again is split up into 2 sections, each of which also has split down into another 4 sections. So we have the growing moon, which starts with the new moon and ends on the waxing gibbous. And we have the shrinking moon, which starts on the full moon and ends on the waning crescent. And then after that, the next units of time are based on the last unit. So a month, or their equivalent of a month, is 4 weeks. Then the year is 8 of those months. Then we also split up into a biennium, which is every 2 years. So that is basically their highest system before they go fully into every 8 things after that being the next big thing. So their decades are based on the biennium instead of their years. So 8 bienniums is a decade, 8 decades is our equivalent of a millennium, so on and so forth. Actually, I think I explained to you microseconds at the beginning of the stream, no? Or do you want me to go over those again? If not, I think I will end my stream here. I mean, our number system is right over here. If you want... I don't know if you had joined the stream before then, but we've already decided on a base 8 number system, which goes all the way up to 64, or the equivalent of 100. Yeah, so if you want to check out this folder or file, there's a link to the folder that contains everything for her. Right now it's literally just this Google Sheet, but it has all of the stuff. So you can check out our phonology, our dictionary, romanization, grammar. And while you can't comment on here, you've actually already know you can go to the Discord. I probably won't... Yeah. No, I'll be posting everything that happened in the stream today on the Discord again. So if you want to see that. Otherwise, I think I'm going to end my stream here. And I will bid you all adieu.